Hello. I did my project on the physics behind headphones. So, some background. Audio companies utilize properties of electricity and magnets in order to make sound. And the main components they use to do this are a permanent magnet, a metal coil that's usually made out of copper, a diaphragm, which is basically just a big drum, and wires connected to that metal copper coil. And here is a diagram of how they all interact with each other. So you can see the permanent magnet is in the middle, and then you have the coil on the right that's sort of like undulating back and forth towards that permanent magnet. And the diaphragm is the big bowl shape that's looped all the way around the coil. And there's magnetism going on between the permanent magnet and the coil that's causing those sort of like stretching and growing and shrinking. And those carry vibrations across the diaphragm, which go into our ears as sound. So the headphone configuration, so first they put a permanent magnet on one side, and it's called a permanent magnet because the poles never change. And that's why sometimes if you have two earbuds and you place them next to each other, you can see that magnetism kind of like repel them away. And it just means, their poles are the same. And then on the opposite side, you have a metal coil, like we saw in the diagram, and there's wires running through the coil, and they're connected to a power source, like your phone usually, or a computer, and they're drawing power from those things. And then we have the diaphragm, which again is just like a big drum bowl shape. Um, and on this side, we go over how it it acts like an electromagnet. Um, so the metal coil, we send a current through the coil, and a magnetic field is generated by that flowing current. And once you have a flowing current like that, it acts as a magnet. So we call it a electromagnet. And if we send the current the opposite direction, it'll switch the poles. So we sort of have this behavior where we can choose how we want to send the current through and decide when and how we want the poles to flip. So creating the actual sound, the coil's poles match the permanent magnet's poles initially, and that causes a repulsion. So like you can see in this picture in the bottom right, um, we have the speakers sort of like bouncing up and down, and that's due to the behavior between all those repulsions and attractions. And when the coil's poles are opposite to the permanent magnets, it'll attract and pull it down in. Um, and the diaphragm, so the big bowl shape, carries those vibrations like from the stretching and shrinking. Um, and those vibrations travel across the diaphragm and into our ears as sound. And there's thousands of these collisions going on and like vibrations every second. So we have audio software, which is, it's like keeping track and strategically placing where the vibrations will occur so that we hear it as music. And the way that they get different notes is by tweaking the voltage. So higher voltage, higher note, lower voltage, lower note. And so in summary, headphones produce sound by using magnets to cast vibrations across a drum, which would be the diaphragm. The magnets oscillate towards and away from each other by utilizing the coil's electromagnetic properties. We can reverse its poles by shifting the current's direction. This is a prime example of how understanding physics improves our everyday lives. Speakers, headphones, alarms, and radios are present in billions of our devices today, and we've come to rely on them. And here are my resources. Thanks for watching.